What is up, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning in to another video. Today we're looking at a bipod, specifically this one here, the Caldwell XLA Picatinny bipod. This is a QD Picatinny bipod. This is the 6 to 9 inch model. This one is listed on Caldwell's site for $42. There's a 9 to 13 model on there as well for $45. And it's worth mentioning there's also M-LOK versions of both of those, the 6 to 9 being $51 and the 9 to 13 being $57. One major consideration between the two, other than having the M-LOK obviously more permanently affixed and not easy to get off, is I would be willing to bet the M-LOK one is quite a bit lighter. You'll see when we take the bipod off later, the QD section is quite a big chunk of metal. That's a plus side in durability, but also adds quite a bit of weight. So I have the 6 to 9 here, just because this is, for me, perfect for shooting 20 round magazines out of this SPR build you're seeing here. If you want to shoot a 30 round magazine, I would definitely go with a 9 to 13. It's going to be quite a bit heavier, but shooting with a 30 round magazine off of these shorter bipods can get a little hairy. It can be done, it will fit, but it's definitely not as ideal. This QD system is great. I've had no issues with it, and I guess it's worth mentioning I've had this bipod for 2 years now, a little over to be actually, and no issues so far. The lockup with the QD is still really tight. Also, it's a true QD, locks onto a Picatinny rail. It's not a system that some of the cheaper bipods use. If you know what I'm talking about, you've probably seen on Amazon where it's kind of like this, it's a sling mounted bipod that then has this Picatinny rail with a sling piece on the bottom that detaches. And it's not that, it's a true quick detach Picatinny bipod. So no worries there. It has chewed up this rail section a little bit. If that's important to you, you can see there. Doesn't bother me, but keep in mind that might be something to be able to be avoided with perhaps a little bit nicer bipod, maybe machined a little well. Also, that's a pretty cheap Picatinny piece on the bottom, which is also likely a cheaper metal. There's no pivot or pan or roll or tilt, whatever you want to call it, function on this bipod. It is rigidly mounted to the handguard, so you won't be able to tilt your rifle without tilting the bipod. Same goes for a pan. If you're looking for that, this definitely isn't the bipod for you. So opening the legs is pretty straightforward. They're just spring activated, so when they're up in the front, you just pull them down. And then activating the leg extensions is by this tab right here. You would push this, they're spring loaded, and you can see all of these little grooves here are intermediate places where the bipod can lock into place, and then to get it all the way back in, you'd push it back in. This little wheel here is pretty handy. You rotate it about 30 degrees and that locks the bipod in. You can also lock it at all of those intermediate positions as well if you get set up in a shooting position and you don't want to worry about it getting adjusted. That's never happened to me, but if you're set up in a place, you might as well lock them up. These rubber feet, not a whole lot to say. They're pretty standard rubber feet. They do fine on most dirt and grippy surfaces, but on something slick like this, they're pretty slippery. I can roll in footage here of me at a range that I frequent where you can see that they just take off backwards and slide, even with the slight recoil of the 223. And they don't provide a lot of grip, and it's really hard to load the rifle and get behind it, which is causing that perceived increase in recoil that you'll see in the video clip that I just rolled. The feet also don't have the spike claw, whatever you want to call it, ice pick underneath. If you know what I'm talking about, some bipods you can remove these, and underneath there will be a sharp ice pick like thing that can dig into dirt or hard surfaces. This does not have that. Those feet, they are fixed in place. So now we can go ahead and talk about durability. I'll go ahead and take the bipod off of the rifle and set the rifle to the side. All right, so this bipod does seem to be made of high quality metal. You can see that the inside here is pretty chewed up. Most of that's not dense. This is still a smooth surface here on my finger. It's just the finish rubbing off. The finish is probably likely a cheap finish just given the price of this bipod. But yeah, the QD system has been great. Like I said, I've had this for about a little over 2 years now, and this thing still locks up tight. I've never had any issues with it coming loose. Once you get the cam set right and really lock this thing into place, it is not going anywhere. So next we can talk about these legs. The legs are not flimsy at all. No matter how hard you try, you are not going to be able to bend or flex that. Same with the extensions. Oh, this one's locked. Come on. These are actually also incredibly rigid. I'm sure you could break this here if you wanted to. It's not that durable, but as far as regular shooting or hunting goes, you're not going to break the legs on this guy. They're stiff. So another thing that I want to point out, I've had 2 of the cheaper CV Life bipods off of Amazon, and both of those right here on the back, let me fold this leg down, where the leg meets with the body of the bipod, you'll see this metal over time start to bend and actually become so much so that this piece will fail. That happened to me on 2 different CV Life bipods. Like I said, I've had this one for 2 years and there's minimal, if any, pitting. That looks like just some finish popped off there, but no issues there with this guy. So also worth mentioning, the springs are still very stiff. You might have seen me right there struggling to close it without it mounted to the rifle. So over time, these have hung in there. They're still stiff to this day. No issues there. It is worth noting that they will fling the legs down. So if they're folded up, these legs like this on your rifle, you're not going to want to hit them down. You're going to want to grab and follow it down with your hand. If I can get it there. There we go, like so. Because if you do let it fling down violently, I have had, you can see this spring is a little loose here. It doesn't fit as tight as it should due to this piece have moved a little down here. But these springs can pop out and they are a pain in the butt to get back in. So that kind of summarizes all my opinions on this bipod. I'd like to talk a little bit about value. I think this is kind of the best of the budget bipods. It edges out a CV Life enough that you don't have issues that I've experienced, at least, with legs giving out, the locking mechanism giving out, this metal bending, and the mounting system failing. You don't have those issues. It's high enough quality to take care of all of that, but it still remains a price point about half of like a Harris bipod, which you'll probably likely see a lot less of this finish wearing, less issues like this spring not fitting super well, and these guys, these little, where the spring, the tabs that are mounted to the body, one came loose once. So with the Harris, you're likely to have more of those issues squared away. But I think this bipod sits at a perfect middle ground for someone who's just going to be range shooting or hunting. I have no doubts this bipod will take care of everything you need. So with that being said, that's all I've got for this video today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like. If you didn't, drop a dislike and let me know why in the comments. But other than that, thanks for watching.